Welcome back to Kickback. My name is Ben Strasser, and this year we are presented by CMHA Brant Haldeman Norfolk, and I'm now joined by Stephanie. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back.
It's wonderful. I mean, I think you've been a part of almost every year, which is wonderful, and it's so cool to see your journey. Both as a businesswoman and as a mom too.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we wanted to talk about today. Was just navigating being a business owner and leading a team.
Yes.
You have a very large team.
Large team.
And also navigating like the home life as well. And so can you just share a little bit about what maybe your day-to-day looks like?
Oh my goodness. I think one of the things that I love so much about my role as a group practice owner of Mindful Path Counseling and also owning my other business, Therapist Off the Clock, and having a family is that every day is actually a little bit different. Right. So the home life with the kids in our routine might look the same every single day. So getting breakfast, out the door, daycare, all those things. And then my day starts around 9:30. But once my day starts, every day looks different. So some days I might be doing clinical work. Some days I might be doing more supervision work, and then other days I might be doing the administrative stuff, behind the scenes, social media, all of the kind of working the business things that we have to do.
Right, and like for somebody that maybe is standing back and looking in, and they might be thinking, how do you make all of that happen?
Oh yes, I get this all the time. Like, how do you do all of the things that you do? And if I'm being 100% honest, I'm not necessarily the one doing all of the things. So I started doing all the things back in 2017 when I was a solo practitioner before I became a group practice owner. And that was 2 years. I did solo by myself, so 2017 to 2019. And at that time I was doing all the things. I might have created our Instagram, doing a few posts, a few reels or lives, and doing the clinical work and the billing. But after 2019 was when things started to shift. I started to realize that the business was really exploding. A pandemic hit in 2020. Mental health really shifted, and so I had to shift. So I started hiring practitioners at that point. I started bringing on student interns. And then from 2019 till the end of 2022, it was me running the small team that I had of 5 people. And then from there shifted to having to hire admin and billing and social media support. Because I think what people don't realize is I don't do all of the things behind the scenes. I have an amazing team that supports me. And also an amazing team at home. My partner, my oldest child, helps with some of the business practices in terms of organization of the clinics and the cleaning. My partner does the snow removal. So there's all of these different pieces that I don't necessarily do, but from the outside looking in, everyone's like, wow, you do so many things in one day. Yes, I do. And I have about 5 or 6 other me doing all the things. Because otherwise it's not possible, and it's also not sustainable.
Right, and I feel like that is part of what Rachel and I, my wife, live as well on a day-to-day basis with the studio here at Up Yoga and Wellness where we are today, and having Theo's 5 and Benny's almost a year old, and so just juggling those, like their needs as well, and just that what they need from you as a parent, and then how you interact with the world to make sure that you show up for both them, for your partner, and then also for your team at work. What does that look like for you to kind of navigate that balance?
Yeah, it's really hard, and I'm sure you realize this, and Rachel realizes this too, that having kids and having a business is not easy. And so for me, I have Haley, who's 17, so she started driving this year in grade 12, so we applied for university, and so what does that transition look like, and showing up and making sure I went to the meet and greets and things like that to help her pick and show up for her. And then I also have 2 younger babies, because I had a really big gap for people who don't know me. I have a Ren who's turning 4 next week, and then I have Talon who's 17 months. And so I'm kind of in all of these different life stages all at one time, which then adds another kind of layer or complication to it. So I have to show up for a teenager, a toddler, a baby, my partner, my business, and for myself. And so the balance of everything, it's not perfect in any way, and it changes all the time. And I think that's one of the most important things that I realized being a new mom again, just because there was such a big gap in my first baby to my second, and then being a business owner of multiple businesses, is that the structure and my time management and my agenda, it changes all the time. Sometimes I have to show up more for my kids and my family, just because of what's going on in our personal life. And then other times I'm able to spend a little bit more energy into the business. And so just working to ebb and flow and not being too rigid has really helped me be at peace with, okay, maybe it's not, a big growth year for me. Maybe it's really, we're focusing on getting Haley off to university and focusing on the transition of the toddler and the baby. And then maybe next year there's more growth when things change again. And so I think just giving myself permission to sometimes step in and sometimes take a step back.
Right, and I think that that's probably the biggest piece, is that permission. Was that a natural thing for you to learn that, or was that something that it took a bit?
A lot of therapy, a lot of therapy. No, absolutely not. I think giving clients, like when I invite clients to take permission for themselves, I'm really good at inviting people to do that. But when I, turned inward and looked to myself, I always struggled. Had to be perfect. I had to work 12 hours a day to feel like I, made the most of it and I was successful. Have to do all of the things for the kids and, do the business, and it's just not possible. And so I think really 2025, I focused on boundaries. I focused on giving myself permission. And I also focused a lot on rest in 2025, which people I think are still going to be shocked as like, you did all the things. Again, lots of support. And I really did rest a lot and lived into myself. I demonstrated probably the most self-love I've ever given in my life in 2025. I started saying no a lot more. And I started giving myself permission to make mistakes, take risks, and just show up for my family and my own needs.
Amazing. And so what would you, for somebody that is watching at home, and I think this will be a twofold question, but somebody that's maybe already in the thick of all of the things and is navigating life and it seems like chaos, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it can get really overwhelming. So having a really good support network, especially other moms who get it, other business owners who get it, is so important. When I had a business coach, I found that really shifted things for me. I was able to look at all the things that were going really well, and just having confirmation of that provided ease. And then it also gave me an opportunity to take some shifts and risks and know that, yes, it is the right time to hire someone to support me. And yes, it is the right time to bring on someone to focus just on billing because it's such a big task.
Right.
And so I think, just like knowing when it's the right time. And if you don't know, business coach or mentor was huge for my transition and success in 2025.
Amazing. And the second part of that question is for somebody maybe that's at home, maybe has a child or two or three, or but is watching and they see what you are doing and they think that that's not something that's achievable for them. What would you say to them?
It 100% is possible, and remember, I didn't start here. So when I started, it was just me, and this is even before my relationship with my partner and my 2 kids. Like, it was just me and Haley, and I started there. I started my degree. I was in school. I was working hard. So you can start at any point. It's possible, and just having the right support to get you there, like with women and business and community connections, is super helpful. But just start small. Like, pick one small task, small goal every day, and then create a goal for the week, create a goal for the month, and then you would be amazed where you can get in 1 year.
Right. And I think that that's the piece that people scroll on social media and they see all of these people that have all of their lives together, so to speak, and they don't realize what goes on behind the scenes to make those things work, or the hundreds or thousands of hours that it took to get to the point of where you are with the success that you found with your businesses. And I think it's important to recognize the amount of work that's gone into that to get there, right? And it just took one decision, one yes. To be able to do that. Doing what you do and doing it while having, like, being a mom that shows up and knowing, like, I think that there's a lot of people, like, and even I know that's something that Rachel's navigated in the last year or so, of like, how do you show up for everybody? And it's much in, like, the mirror is there, and that I see, like, with you and your team compared to here in the team, and then showing up for the babies, and it's just like chaos.
Chaos all
right?
the time. Always, it's always chaos. But I think self-care for me every day is super important. So starting my day with affirmations. So before I even get out of bed, I review my affirmations on my phone. They change often. I find new things that I like, and I create that. It's really my intention for the day. And then I've now created space every day to read a single chapter of a book. I think in 2025, I was like, I'm going to read a book a month. And I think I read one book for the entire year because time is, really valuable. So now my goal is to read a chapter every couple days, if it's not even possible in a day. Just, I think, again, being a little bit more flexible on some of those goals, because we have to show up for ourselves and everyone else in our life. And you have a big team. I have a pretty big team. And so I don't know about you, but I feel like on top of my kids and my partner, I'm talking to about 10 to 20 people a day. And that's not including my clients and my supervisors and all the things. So just having a schedule, time management has been critical for me. Getting up an hour earlier every single day. I like to get up before the kids get up if possible.
Yeah, that's a sweet time.
Yeah, and just like not rushing my coffee. I can't tell you how many times, and I'm sure you know that you have a really cold coffee and you're like, I don't even
We
care,
literally
'cause I
talked
just
about that
want
this
my
morning.
coffee. And so I just really would like to sit and maybe read or just do nothing and enjoy a warm coffee. And that is like, if you hold that 5-10 minute space for yourself before your kids wake up and before kind of the day starts and everything starts to unravel, you have just such a different mindset, intention, energy. Like physically, I feel different if I hold that space and time for me in the morning. And then when the kids get up, you interact with them differently.
Totally.
You have a sense of peace. It's like a good morning. Even if they're having a rough morning, you've regulated yourself, that then you can help co-regulate them, and then you can transition that into the business world with people that you're working with.
And it's so easy for that situation to spiral out of control if you don't have that regulated nervous system. I've lived that many times where it's like all of a sudden, what is going on? And it's like, oh wait, I'm not showing up the way that I want to, and Theo is just mirroring back to me what he saw or felt from me, and seeing that. So it's really important to set yourself up for success. And I think realizing, like, noticing how, like, especially Theo, Benny's still young, but seeing how he reacts to you and knowing what kind of space you need to hold for your children and how much they are of you, and how you show up for the world. And I find that the more that I learn and know, the more like aware and like it's like constantly in the back of my mind of, am I showing up the way that I want to show up?
I question this for myself every day. And I think one of the biggest things when I started getting trained in somatic therapy, which is like a mind-body connection, body-based therapy, and just started noticing my own tension points. And so if my body's getting tense, then the words come after that, and the aggression might come after that, or yelling, and I don't want that. So starting paying attention to your own body, I think a lot of people aren't aware of what's happening in their body, and just like a really small shift can, again, impact how you interact with someone, how you facially show up, how you speak, your tone of voice. And so first starting with like what's happening inside and noticing, ooh, I didn't like what was happening there. I'm noticing I'm getting agitated. Maybe you go take a break. You come back,
your own time out,
your own time out. Bathroom is your friend. And then if your child, like Ren, she's turning 4, we do have a lot of like kind of behavioral challenges with her. And again, that was a lot to go through in 2025. One of the things that I noticed really helps is when I'm regulated and she's not, I get on the floor with her and we just kind of do some body stuff, and I say, calm in my body. And she's like, calm in my body. And she's yelling and she's really upset, but it helps because I'm co-regulating with her. And again, that translates to business. So how we show up and how we lead our family and our life, it shows up for our team and really helps to regulate everyone. And that's where trust is developed. Your team starts to trust you. Oh, you say you're going to do that? I know you are, because you've done it in the past. And so I think it just helps all around.
And it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to, like we were talking about this before we got on camera, but the idea of what we now know and have learned in like the last 10 years and how that's going to impact our children and how we show up to them. It's neat to see those things.
I don't think I realized all of the hard work that I've done, even prior to business. Like I did all my degrees, and when Haley was really little, I started my university, my post-secondary degrees when she was 4. I didn't finish until 2023. That's how long I was in school. And so my oldest, Haley, she's applying to post-secondary, so we're looking at, kinesiology was the primary department she wanted to focus on. And then she said to me one day, she goes, oh, my grandpa and I were having a conversation, And he was like, why aren't you applying to psychology or social work or counseling? Like, why aren't you doing what your mom's doing? And she was like, oh. So she brings this home to me and she said, I never really considered it until we had this conversation. But he was talking about like how amazing you're doing. And like, he really encouraged me to follow in your footsteps because you know what you're doing. And I'm like, I want to feel like I know what I'm doing. And she was like, would that be okay? Like, could I apply to psychology and maybe work with you one day? Like, I love your business. I love what you stand for, what you do, how you support the community. And I actually kind of think I want to change my career path. And I was kind of blown away. And like, this is like going to be a core memory for me. I was like, wow, I don't think I realized all of the small things that I do on an everyday basis, all the behind the scene things that maybe only she and my family see. It really made an impact on her. Like, she really sees what I've done. And I don't even think I realized what I'd done until she said that and was like, could I work with you one day and like be your psychologist? I'm like, oh my God, like, wow. So impactful.
And how special is that? Like, I think that there's probably nobody that would mean more coming from than her. And I can understand how that would be like just an incredible conversation. And really, because if we go back to when I got pregnant with her, I was 21. Not in school. I had zero plans to go to post-secondary. I was working at Domino's Pizza, living in my parents' basement. And then I was like, I guess I really need to do something with my life if I'm making this decision to bring this life into this world. And really from that moment on, my whole mindset, trajectory, everything changed. I think my view of myself changed. My view as a woman changed. My view to could I have a business, and it just completely shifted, and that's when things sparked. And I don't think she realizes that, and maybe she will when she listens to this, that really her coming into this world is what started all of this. I mean, I've said it a few times now, but that's a beautiful thing, right? Like, how special is that the bond that you two have, you're both at the beginning of her life sparked you, and now that she's got to this point, how you've shown up for her has sparked her. And I think that that's a key point from this conversation is that there's a lot of people watching. And maybe they don't say anything, but they're watching, especially our children. They're watching and paying attention, and they're seeing how you show up for them. And so it's just important to continue to show up. And I know something that I've done with you is I've just apologized to him when I haven't shown up, and just how responsive he is to that sorry, and like how immediate. He's like, oh yeah, no problem, Dad, I get it. It's whatever. And it's like, oh,
But I think that's a big piece is we're consistent with our kids. So even though we are busy working professionals, we have businesses, we still show up for our kids. And again, the balance changes all the time. But I think as long as we keep coming back to them and keep showing them that even though if I'm busy with this and I might be helping somebody else, tomorrow is focused on you. They're like, yeah, no, I know you're being honest, and I can trust what you're saying. And that means a lot. Amazing.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we sign off here?
I don't think so. I think that's everything.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining again.
Appreciate it.
And we really appreciate you taking the time.